Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Shellie Geigle with J&S Hobbies and Crafts, and today's tutorial is on the Stamperia Garden House album, and the finish size after wrapping is 6 5/8 by 8 5/8 and a 3 1/4 inch spine. Now this album holds quite a few picture mats, and it has great spacing and a lot of good stuff in it. So I'm going to show you really quick and take you around. The flowers were handmade, as well as it has the Tim Holtz white bouquet flowers in it. I did a tutorial on the shaping and the inking of the handmade flowers if you're interested, and there's a link underneath the video. Otherwise, you can use packaged flowers. So on here, what we did was we did a lot of layering to get this effect with the pots and the flowers and the window and the spine. And in the back, it just looks like this. So let's get on into this. When we first open this up, we have a large fold out in here, and I used magnets, 1 pack, and there's places to place your photographs. And over here is just a small little tuck, and I have a picture mat in there. And right up in here, what we did was we created a pocket flip. So as you can see, that. And yeah, you just kind of place your photo mats in there. And we don't do photo mats together creating this. Everyone has their own style and taste on how they like to do them, as well as the size of the photograph. I will tell you, my photo mats are pretty good size. My photographs that I based my mats on are this, and I usually leave the white around my photos. But it's about 3 5/8 by about 5 1/4, so it's a good size, and it gives me that framed look. So that's how I do mine. Anyway, and you can place photographs in here if you wanted. And then in the very, very back, there is a tuck back behind this pocket. So that is our page 1. Now page 2 is for a photo mat to be tucked in back behind. So pretty much if you had a photograph and you matted it down, you could store it right like that, or just a photograph if you wanted. Okay, moving on to page 3, we have a double pocket here. And over here on page 4, we have a very large fold out, and it's thick. So when we open that up, I'm gonna bring this down. We have a little window here that we made, and it's just like a belly band. So you can slide photo mats in and out. And then this folds down, and you have a place here for a photograph, and down here. And then these open up, and here's another spot for a photograph. And we've got 2 large pockets, and we have a tuck style pocket in the back. So I'll show you this. I have a couple in here. I have a lot of mats in here. All right, moving on. Over here, we left alone, so you can just place your photograph if you'd like. Over here's our waterfall, and you just pull that down. And I'm going to get this back in the frame. And you can get a photograph right on in here. Over here, we have a large pocket. I have a couple mats in there. And then over here is a fold out, and you can place a photograph right on over here. And we have a large tuck or side pocket. And I have a picture mat here. At the end of the tutorial, I made this folder. I didn't have enough decorative paper left over after doing all my mats, but I could always add solid colored cardstock if I felt like it. So I think that came out really nice. Moving on, and this would be page 9. What we have here is a tuck in the back, and then we made a little side envelope. And I have a mat in there. And we have a large fold out back here, opens up. We have a nice side pocket, some bigger photo mats. And right here we have a large pocket. And it opens up again, and you can place a photograph over here. And over here. Over here, and then another pocket. And this pocket in the back was optional if you wanted to place it. Otherwise, you'd have an open spot. But I have some good sized picture mats in here for sure. And that is what we will be making today. Let's move on into the materials list. So first things first, the paper. You're going to need 2 of the paper packs. These are 12 by 12 sizes, 10 double-sided sheets in each. You're going to want some Tyvek. I do sell it in my store in envelopes. That's pretty much what this is. And you just cut strips off, and that's just for the binding. That's my preference. I am going to be using the Coordinations Premium Cardstock 110-pound white. And that is for the fold outs and pockets and all that good stuff. You will want 2 pieces, and I'm using 12 by 12 size, of a 65-pound or 80-pound weight white cardstock. And this is just for our album wrap. 2 pieces of 12 by 12 medium weight chipboard. You do not have to have black. You can use natural, whatever. It does get covered. I am bringing in some of the Tim Holtz Bouquet white little flowers. We'll be clipping those off. And then I did a tutorial on flower making and inking. So I have a bunch of flowers here that I've made, and there is a tutorial for that, and it's linked underneath this video. If you are not someone who likes to make your own flowers, you can buy packaged flowers in blues, 1 pack of basic gray, large magnet discs, and I have a lot of the 1/4 inch. You can use 3/8, but I'm using 2 packs of score tape 1/4 inch. Last, what you're going to need is for equipment and tools, you'll need some scissors, pencil, eraser, ruler for sure, craft knife, and you're going to want a scoring board with your bone folder, scoring tool, as well as a paper cutter. All right, let's get started. We're ready to assemble the base album. However, let's review our cuts from our pre-cutting guide that you would have downloaded for free. The first thing that we did was we cut 2 pieces that are 6.5 by 8.5. They're on our chipboard. We called them a cover. Next, we cut a 3 by 8.5 inch spine, and that's on our chipboard too. We cut 2 pieces of Tyvek 1 inch by 8.5. Tyvek is very flexible. We did not label these, it's not necessary. Then using those 2 pieces of 12 by 12 paper for our album wrap, we cut it down to 9 3/4 by 10.5, and we called them an album wrap. Then what we did, let me get this other stuff out of the way. We cut 4 pieces. We only labeled 1. It was only necessary for 1 to be 7 by 8, and we called it an inner page. What we did on each one of these is we laid this on our scoring board. We are 7 inches across, and we scored each at 5/8. That was all we did there. Then we cut a 5 inch by 8 inch inner spine cover, and we cut 2 pieces that were 6 by 8, and we called them an inner cover. All right, let's get to assembly here. The first thing we're going to want is our album wrap sheets. Now grab your ruler and measure out about 3/8 just on one of them, just to help you guide yourself. You can even go 1/2 inch if you wanted, but I'll do a 3/8 here. So And I'll just mark it up here as well, 3/8. Okay. What we're going to do, or 1/2 inch, like I said, either or. What we're going to do is grab our score tape, and on one of them, we're just going to lay right along the edge. And I'm using 1/4 inch. You can use your 3/8. And if you did 1/2 inch, that's fine. I gave us a little room for a little wiggle room there. If you're new to using score tape, you always burnish. And always wash the lotions and oils off your skin before messing with it. It's like impossible to keep your hands out of it. For me, since I'm using the 1/4 inch and I'm only going 3/8, I'm going to grab some of my glue here, get it ready to go. And then I'll just run a little line here of glue. And I'm just going to do a real thin line right next to my adhesive there. So what we're going to be doing is overlaying this onto this. Now, before you do it, make sure that you are 9 3/4 wide, 10 1/2 tall. I have a hard time keeping my paper straight, so I'm going to grab this out. I'm not going to be cutting it, but what I'm using is this paper guide up here to keep my paper straight. Here's the one with the adhesive on there. So I'll put that up there, right up against. And then this one, I'm just going to bring over and overlap. Keep that up against the guard there. Try and keep me straight. Now, if you get yours on and it's not even at the bottom, mine's pretty even, it's really not going to matter because we're going to be using to wrap, so it's not a big deal. You won't be able to see the unevenness. Okay, next thing. Grab your spine, your chipboard spine. And I'm going to show you first before we do it. I'm going to place this, and I'm going to place this evenly over our seam. And that should give us about a 1 inch here and 1 inch here if I center it there. So let's do it. Score tape around the outside like a picture frame. That's what I always say. So next, once we have this with it all the way around, we're going to put one down the middle, one on each side. And my least favorite thing to do is burnish, but it's necessary. Let's get that score tape backing off. And I'm just going to do the best I can, kind of centering that, making sure I have a 1 inch up there and a 1 inch down here and trying to keep it straight. Okay, next, I'm going to put this off to the side. Let's grab our chipboard covers. Let's place our score tape all the way around like a picture frame. Let's start there on each one of these. I got the score tape on each. Let's go one down the middle. And what we do on this one, we'll do exactly on that one. And we're going to put 2 strips on either side of that. So just kind of eyeball it. You don't have to measure. Do the best you can. It'll be fine. Then we'll burnish. So let's get this one ready. Mine are done. So I'm going to show you first before we do this, because we have to leave a spacing between the spine and our covers. So if you were to take this and line it up with the bottom of your spine, you're going to leave a 1/4 inch gap in between. We need that for the wrap. And then over here, same thing, about a 1/4 inch. And by doing that, that should leave you about 1 inch or so of white cardstock so you can wrap. So I'm going to get mine down really quick and remove the backing and place it. And we'll place it together. So let's get this ready to go. I have the score tape backing off both mine. And we have the garbage man out front. 1/4 inch spacing, and I'm going to line these up the best I can. 1/4 inch. Try to stay straight. That is That's good enough. And same over here. Just try to be as even as you can. We'll burnish from the other side in a little bit. So far this is what yours should look like. Let's grab our Tyvek. Tyvek is very hard to work with. It likes to scrunch up, whatever. If you get a seam on yours, it's not going to hurt anything. You can kind of just clip off the excess if you'd like, but it's not going to interfere if you don't. So I am going to put a strip along each side. And it will try to crinkle up. If you get wrinkles, it's okay. You're not going to see it. And Tyvek can be kind of hard to work with. Your piece, if you got wrinkles, may look like it's warped, and like I said, it doesn't matter. It's still going to do its job, and you're not going to be able to see it. I am going to clip off any overhang, though, of score tape peeking out. So I'm going to show you first before we do. It's a little easier that way. The purpose of these is to place right over the gap. If your album on the outside ever tore out, you could still mend it, but most importantly, this is going to stay together for you. So that's why we use it. At least I use it. It's kind of a backup. You never know. You could drop your album going down a staircase. You could be storing it and it getting smashed and ripped up or whatever. It isn't going to come apart. It may rip out from the outside. You can always recover the outside on the spine. So here I go. Evenly, just right on over. And if it isn't totally even or straight, it's okay. It gets covered. Some people who see my videos that really want to make one, I get the impression on some of them that don't end up making it is that they're scared. They're scared they're going to mess up or they're going to cut something wrong. Here's the thing. This is pretty simple how I do it, and I do leave for a lot of error for people. So the most important thing is just to take your time. Have your little mouse or device to pause the video and re-watch. If you have to look twice before you actually do a task that I'm showing, then do so. There's no race into this at all. The next thing I would like us to do is to grab our score tape, and we're going to come about 3/4 inch away from the corner there because it does get clipped off. And we are going to line this stopping here. We'll put our score tape stopping there, and so on, all the way around. So I'm going to get mine done really quick, and I will be back in just a moment. I have the score tape on there, and as you can see at the edges, I left it blank because we're going to be clipping off at an angle. However, next what we're going to do is go right on the edge of the chipboard, and we are going to line it completely all the way around. And we won't leave any spacing, so I'm edge to edge on this, all the way around. I have mine all the way around. I'm going to give it a quick burnishing, and then we will move on to our next step. What you're going to want to do is, you see where the corner of your chipboard is? Well, we're going to cut at an angle and leave 1/8 inch of white cardstock. Now, you don't have to measure this. Just cut, and we're going to do that on each corner. See how I left about 1/8 of an inch away? Well, that's so that we can tuck our corners. All right, let's start working our paper. What I like to do is grab it on the long side, and here's the thing, where your seam is, you may get some splintering. If so, we'll fix that. I'll show you. But we're going to work it slowly. Start in the middle, and then just kind of help it out a little bit. Okay. And then I'll just kind of take my time and get it worked. And that's all you have to do there. We're going to do this with this side as well, and then we'll move to the other sides. All right, I have that done. We're going to go ahead and remove the score tape from our piece all the way around. And as soon as I get that done, I'll show you what we do next. Okay, I got all the score tape backing off. We'll start from the bottom, and we're going to go in where we have our seam. And I'm just going to work it out. And I'll work it out this way. I'll burnish here in a minute. Let's get the other one. Start in the middle. All right, got that done. Grab your tool. What you're going to want to do is place a hand, your fingers on your chipboard, maybe one over here to hold the flap down. You'll take your tool right up here, lay it flat, and then we're going to go around like a corner. And you're just going to tuck that in a bit. I think you can see that. Okay, we're going to do the same down here. There's my Roomba. So, and you're going to smooth it out. Just make sure you tuck it in. We'll go ahead and do that over here as well. Placing a hand down. And over here. I'm right-handed, so this is, I should be turning my paper around for me, but I'm just going to do it from this side. All right, once you look and you've got those tucked in, we can then pull this over. And then you can use your tool, whether this one or a different type, to burnish that down. I'm going to flip this around and pull that in. All right, don't bend it yet. The next one we want is your 5x8 inner spine. Let's grab our score tape. Now on this particular one, what you're going to want to do is go score tape around the outside like a picture frame. Then you're going to lay strip by strip next to each other until you can't anymore, and it has to be completely covered. This is an important piece. It's what our inner pages are going to stick down to. So I have that done, and now I'm just going to lay strip by strip right next to each other. All right, let's burnish that down really good. And you will definitely want to clip off any overhang of score tape that you may have. Okay, I'm going to show you first before I remove the score tape backing. But what this piece does is, you see where your Tyvek is and it covers that? We're going to be laying this right over that. It should cover your Tyvek. If for whatever reason your Tyvek is still peeking out, it does get covered anyway. This piece we are going to center top and bottom. So you should still have about a 1/4 inch of your white chipboard covering down here and up here. All right, here we go. So center, top, and bottom, so it's kind of the same, and then over it. And I think this is pretty good. Just make sure you get it on pretty straight. And we're going to take a moment to really burnish that down. If you got it on, maybe it's not equal, it'll be okay. When you're burnishing, you may hear crinkling and all that. That's the air getting out from underneath your piece in the score tape. So that's what we want. Next, you're going to want to get your 6x8 inner cover. We're going to set this off to the side. We'll work with that in just a moment, but we're going to get this ready to go. So when we're ready to place it, it's ready. What we do on this one, we'll do the same over here. We're going to go all the way around like a picture frame. So once you've done that, we'll go one down the middle. And we'll just do one on each side of that. I think that'll be plenty. let's do this one, same way. I'm pretty detailed in my tutorials on instructions on what we're supposed to be doing. There goes Roomba again, emptying itself. Anyway, the reason why I do that is to set you up for success rather than fail. If I'm going to do these tutorials, I'm going to do the best I can with showing you how to do it so that you can come out with an album looking exactly like mine that I show you. All right, we have those. Let's grab our album. Now we are ready to pull in the sides. So what you're going to want to do is place your hand right in the middle where that spine is. Slip this hand underneath. Place it down and slowly, you'll start to see where that hinge is. And we're going to slowly work it up. Now I like to put my hand up at an angle here. I got dog hair on me. Up at an angle so that when I'm pulling it in, as soon as it hits this, I'm done. Because you don't want to rip out your sides. So that's good. This side now. And the reason why I use score tape is so that I make sure everything is covered so there's no warpage or bubbling up. Because I've tried to use glue before on this and I always get a hump or something. This ensures that it's going to be flat for my pages to adhere down to. So right now your book is going to be very stiff and it's going to want to be open. By the time we're done here and working in this book, it'll loosen up a little bit. All right, 6x8 inner covers. So the idea with this, before I remove the score tape backing, is you see where your inner spine cover comes out, and top and bottom. Well, this, if we lay it down, you can see where my hinge is. I'm going to line that up with it. So it's all going to look really nice. And I'm going to come in probably about 1/4 inch or so from that hinge. And it will place looking like that. And that just cleans up the album. I'm ready to go. So about 1/4 inch or so in. Line that up. That looks good. And you'll burnish this down really good. If you didn't get yours on exactly straight, it's okay. By the time we get our pages in and we start decorating and all that good stuff in there, you won't even notice. If this is your first album, I know it's going to come out really nice. And you'll be amazed at what you can do. So same thing, come about 1/4 inch, line that up of that inner spine and place. Okay, while we have our book, I need to clean my area. So far this is what we have. Let's finish up here by getting our inner pages, the 7x8s, and we scored that. Now first thing is I'm going to erase this. We're going to be numbering our pages. Let's go ahead and fold on that score line. Do it on each one of these. Okay, what we do with one, we're going to do with the other. Your peak is up. We'll just flatten that down a little bit. Grab your score tape. And what we want to do is lay a strip right next to our score line, but not on it. And then we are going to put another one, making sure we do not go over, just right along the edge. If you are using 3/8 score tape, then you can overlap your score tape as well. So before we move on, clip off any score tape that is showing. And we'll give that a good burnish. Okay, we're going to do the same with these. Let's get these ready to go. All right, I have score tape on each one of mine. I've burnished and I've double checked to make sure nothing is peeking over. So I'm going to show you first before we do. So here's the peak, here's our flap. What we're going to do is remove the score tape backing. We will then place it like this. The sticky would be down. We're going to pull up the side And this lines up with your inner spine. So it's kind of easy to line you up top and bottom there, but hold that up and you will push it all the way over. And you'll be able to see down below you are lining up, and then press. So we'll do it together. Here we go. All the way up. And I'm just going to come right on in there, line that up with the bottom, and press. And it's down. So we'll want to burnish that right away. We'll fold it over and we'll burnish from this side. Okay, so keep that one folded over. We're done there. Now the next ones are very easy. We'll remove the score tape backing. Then what we're going to do is just push it up against the other one, line it up with the top and bottom, and place it in. Okay, so just press it up against and down. We'll move on to our next one. And the same thing. Push it up against. And it's down. And we have our last one. Okay, last one. And we will place it. All right, so now when you close your book, you should be pretty centered on in there. It looks good. And there are our inner pages. All right, let's grab our pencil. So here is the front. So we're going to write front. Now we're just going to rotate this over and we're going to put the back. That way you don't lose your orientation in case we're decorating the front and we've been turning it around, so that when you go to do the back, you're not doing it upside down. Okay, so here's the front. The spine is right here. First page is page 1. Here's page 2. This gets covered, by the way, with our beautiful paper. 4. So now we have 10 pages. This album is gonna be awesome. Lots of stuff to work in there with our fold-outs, our pockets, our flips, and we'll have a lot of room for just placing photos. So our base album is complete. Now, before we move on, where our seam is, I did not get any splintering. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just depends, I think, the way we cut our paper and the grain and all that. Anyway, if you did get any splintering right here, I'm going to show you how to fix it. Make sure your hands are clean and washed. So what you're going to do with your glue is where you see the splintering, you're going to dab a little bit of glue there. Then if your splinter is supposed to go this way, you will take your finger, you will roll it over, and then you will tap twice and be done. Don't keep tapping, you will tear up your paper. So let's say that you did that, you tapped twice, but you see just a little bit still needing to be doctored up there. Just dab, let that dry, dab, and do it again. Push it over, tap, and be done. Very easy. All right. Our base album is complete. We are moving on to decorating the outside. We are on to decorating the outside, and this couldn't be easier. So the first thing I do want to say is, if you are new to my tutorials, we will be cutting all the decorative paper together so that you can get the same results, and I will be telling you maybe to turn your paper sideways. I try to stay consistent and say measure from here on over this way. So we may be turning paper this way and that, but we'll do it together. And that way it gives me the scrap pieces the same as you, and it's easier for us to, when we go to our scrap pile, to pick a piece out and it looks the same. So that's why we're going to be doing that. So we're going to cut for the front and the back cover together. In your paper pack, you will find these two prints. On the back, it is this. Now I want you to notice that looking at these, you will have a splatter of the print little piece up here. We're going to match those up. So we're looking at it like this. We are going to rotate it so now that splatter is right here. Measure over 8 3/8 and cut. And I do have mine doubled up. So we'll do some cuts where I'll bring my paper cutter out just so that you are sure of what's going on. So my blade is right here. 8 3/8. Now stuff that falls off to the side, what we're going to do with that is we're going to stick it in what I call a reserve pile. All that means is it's a scrap pile. I've always called it reserves because I'm reserving these scrap pieces for later in the tutorial. So we have that. Now we're going to look at it this way. Measure over 6 3/8 and cut. 6 3/8. These two pieces that fall off, put in your reserves. Very easy. We're going to start with a clean slate. So they're identical. Place one off to the side. It's going to be for the back. And how this is going to place, we're going to do our score tape on this side, but we are going to center that, and that will give us a white border all the way around. So let's get our score tape. First things first, score tape around the outside like a picture frame. When I first saw this paper and flipped through it, I had all these ideas and fun stuff that we could do. Now for the cover, I kind of wanted to start with a little bit of a clean slate. As you can see, we have some watermarks here and whatnot, but I wanted to build off that. And this couldn't be simpler. And I do think that the cover design is going to come out nice. All right, so I got that done. We're going to go one down the middle. And we're going to go 2 and 2. Let's give that a good burnish. I'm going to go ahead and remove the score tape backing, and I'm going to place mine. All right, here's the front. So this part's going to go towards the spine. And sometimes, because these pieces can be large and you can get it off center, score tape is not forgiving. What you can do is maybe shoot a little glue down at the bottom so that when you're placing it, maybe you can start at the bottom and you can still maneuver. So here we go. I'll put mine right there. I'm going to open this up. All right, flip over to the back. Score tape around the outside like a picture frame. We'll do one down the middle and one on each side. And I'll show you mine. The back isn't going to be carrying any flowers or anything that's going to really pull up, so I think we'll be okay with just doing a total of 3 strips, you know. Okay, I'm going to give this a quick burnish, and I am going to clip off any score tape that might be peeking over. So on this one, we're looking at the back, and I'm going to be placing this. Let's see, how do I want to do that? I think we'll do it the same way. So here's the spine, and we'll do it like that. Because on the front, if you notice in the print, we have the 2 flowers and 1 up here. So we want to kind of stay consistent with that. So let's get our score tape backing off, and we will place it. Just open that up. Okay, So the spine is off to the left. Here is the front. Now this is the fun part. The very last sheet, I've already torn all my pages out of my book, but on the very last sheet you will find this. So we're going to cut out and around this window. So what you'll want to do is try to keep things, actually I'll come in from the side, just in case I want to use this as a border. But you're going to try and keep things all intact, only get what you need. So if I come in from the side and I cut up and around down to here, this will still be attached. That's what I'm trying to say. So as soon as I get this cut out, I'll show you what mine looks like. So here we go. And as you can see, everything is still intact. Let's go ahead and put that in our reserve pile. The next thing that we're going to want to get after in your paper pack is this piece. If you flip it over, you will have this. What I'd like us to do is we're just going to come straight up, cut out and around, let your dreams blossom. So I've got mine out. I still have to cut out and around a little bit. I'll put that in my reserves. Here's mine, all cut out. So there is that. Next piece, in your paper pack, you'll find this gorgeous print. I want to get after something. So what you're going to want to do is we're just going to cut straight up right along the side here. And then we're going to cut over just where the tip of this is, straight over. That way we do not mess up any of the other prints. So I'm just going to go straight across here, put that in my reserves. All right, so for this, what we're going to want to do, we're going to be leaving this part alone. We're going to come up to the side of this, and then we will cut out and around this, and when we come down over here, when we get to the bottom of the pot, we're just going to come straight down. So let me show you first mine, and then you will be able to see. And you can also pause the video and just kind of have it there while you cut yours out. So this is what mine looks like. I did cut close to the edge of the image, and I came down. And this is what it looks like on the side of the picture. We're going to grab the window. We'll start there. The window needs to go down first. And we're just going to come down, well, we'll come down maybe 3/4 of an inch or an inch. 3/4. And we'll kind of still be able to see this over here. Now what we're going to do is apply glue. We're going to layer that on top. And you're going to want to leave maybe about 1/4 inch away from the side of your picture here and your decorated paper. So it's going to overlap looking like that. I got that down. If you are using leaves, I'm just using a very small one that's cut off, and I'm going to glue that down right over here at the corner. So I'll bring this up so I can see what I'm doing here. Let Your Dreams is going to overlap just like that. And we're not backing these. If you've followed me in a lot of tutorials, you know I usually back a lot of things with cardstock. But we're not on this one, not up here at least. And I'll have a little bit of greenery peeking out the back. Again, if you're not using leaves, don't worry about it, it'll still look good. All right, now for the fun part. If you are not using leaves and flowers, your cover is done. I am using leaves and flowers. And I'm going to grab a couple of these. And the tip of this on mine is just going to come up a little bit onto that window. So I'm going to glue that down first, and then I'll let you see how it looks. So you can try to get pretty close with yours. So it is at an angle without covering up any of this. Now I'm going to open mine up a bit so I can really get this down. I'm going to grab another vine and kind of the stem here will go with the stem there. And it just comes down like this. You'll still be able to see some of this. Just make your flowers do what you want it to do. Now, if you followed my flower shaping tutorial, we made a larger flower, the darker. And we're going to stick that one, I think, right here. And we also made a blue one that was one of the larger flowers. And we're going to stick that one right here. Now I also showed in the flower shaping with the Tim Holtz, you can kind of put a little bit of blue on the edges. I'm going to use that. Now one thing is if you cut down these little stems too far, all your flowers are going to fall out. So I'm leaving this stem on and I'm going to put some glue there and I'm going to tuck it underneath this because it's not completely dry yet. I'm going to grab some more white ones. There's nothing on it. And I'm going to hold this flower down in the middle and I'm going to tuck those under. And once I get it all down, I'll press it down a little more. We made a single layer with some yellow inside. I'm going to bring that one down here. Right next to it. Okay. We also made one that kind of flips up in the center. Like you can do however it is that you want, by the way. And I'm also going to pinch off another small bit here. And I'm going to be tucking that underneath that flower. It's still drying. It's going to take a while for these. Just tuck it right up underneath there. We made a darker blue one, and I'm going to stick that right in there. I'm just going to tuck that right on in. I'll push this up and kind of get that right on in there. We also did another single flower. One of mine had come out darker yellow, one was more faded. It doesn't matter. Just grab another single layer. I'm going to use a leaf here, just pinched off what I'd been tearing apart. And I'll just put one right there. So far this is what we have. If you want to move your flowers a little more together, you can do that. I'm going to get some of the Tim Holtz flowers here, and I cut down that little stem so it releases individual ones, and I'll leave a little stem still there, but we're just going to place these. I'll put one here. Tuck one back in here if I can. And here's one. Whoops. And I'll put that right in here. Okay, I'm going to grab my tool and start kind of pressing down to make sure that that glue makes contact. So that is our cover, and I think it looks really good. I really do. This is going to take some time to dry. In the meantime, I'm just going to open this up and we are going to get our spine piece. In your reserves, you will have this long piece. It's 12 inches. It's from the cuttings. On the other side, it'll look like this. The first thing I would like us to do, and I'll move mine out of the way here. And get my paper cutter out. We'll turn and look at it like this. We're going to measure over 8 3/8 and cut. We'll put that in our reserves. Now, looking at it like this, the darker part is up here. We're measuring over 3 1/16. 3 1/16. We'll put that in our reserves. Now I want to see how this fits. So here is the spine, and I'm going to hold mine up so you can see it better. Now this is where, when we place it down, it should give us that border, top, bottom, and on the sides. And we're going to place it. So I'm going to open this back up, grab my score tape, and I'm going to go all the way around like a picture frame, and then I'm just going to lay 2 in between that. We're going to burnish, and then we'll remove the score tape backing, and if you need to shoot a little glue down there so you have maneuver room, do so. All right. Now, because where my groove is on this, I like to hold mine up. And I got mine on a little crooked. I'm not going to worry about that. Looks good to me. Now in your reserves, let's get this out. This is the one where we cut out the window frame. You see right here, flowers? We're going to get that out, I think. So I'm just going to come in from the side and only get what I need. And the rest of this, well, maybe I'll get something else. Nope, we'll just leave it alone. Okay, let's cut out and around this. And this of course is optional if you don't want to, but I'm just going to glue mine right up there. Actually, I think I'll cut out the inside. So I am going to grab a cutting mat. That's why I said having a craft knife is a good idea in this one. And I have a couple new things we'll be doing in the tutorial, so that'll be fun. You may like it, you may not, but we'll do it. Never know unless you do it, right? So there's that. I'll bring it up. And we'll just glue that down. We're not going to back it. Somewhere in the middle. Alrighty, I think it looks good. My flowers still need to dry just a little bit more, but I think the cover came out really nice. I like the layering we did. You can still see some of the pots and some of the foliage in there. And the window, I think it looks nice. In the back, we are now moving on to page 1. The cover is complete. We're on page 1. Let's review the pre-cuts that we did off the free PDF of the cutting guide. So it said to cut 3 pieces that were 3/4 by 4.5. And on each one of these, all we did was we laid it so we are 3/4 across, and we scored each at 3/8. And we called these a hinge. And we only labeled one of them. They're pretty distinct. We can see how small they are. Next, we cut 2 pieces that were 6.5 by 7 3/4. We called it a fold out. And on each one of these, all we did was lay this on your scoring board. So you are 6.5 inches across. We scored at 1/2 and 3/4 on both of these. And one thing I want to point out, my starting point 0 is over here. If yours is over here, it makes no difference. We just turn our sheet so that it'll work. And it doesn't matter. Okay, last thing is we cut 3 pieces that were 6 by 8.5, and we called them a flip pocket. So this is something new. So what we did was we laid this on our scoring board, each one of these, at 6 inches across. We scored at 3/8 and 5/8. Then it said to turn your paper, so now it's laying 8.5 inches across, and score at 4 inches on each one of these. All right, let's begin with cutting our main decorated page for page 1. In your paper pack, you'll find this print, and on the back, it looks like this. The first thing that we're going to do, we're going to look at it this way so to make sure everyone has the same leftover cuts. We are going to turn it sideways. So happiness is right here. Measure over 7 3/4 and cut. So 7 3/4. So this small piece put in your reserves for now. And now, looking at it like this, we're going to measure over 6 inches and cut. We'll be able to have for page 1 and 2. So the one that we're going to work with is this one right here. This one we'll set off to the side for page 2. All right, first thing I want us to do is grab the fold outs, the 6.5 by 7 3/4. And what we're going to do is just fold on those 2 score lines. So we're going to have a hinge off to the right, and we're going to have a hinge off to the left, and I've already folded on that one. So let's start with the hinge that's off to the right. You'll notice you have an inside score line and an outside. On the outside one, let's pinch and crease. You'll still be able to see your other score line. We're just going to attach that, wrap that right back behind so it's nice and snug in there. Once you have it in place, we will pinch, hold it down. If you feel it slip, realign it. I like to keep my hand down, and when I open it up, I'll be able to see that score line, and that'll tell me whether or not I'm straight too. So we'll just add our glue. And if you get too much glue on that little hinge there, you'll know it, because when we open this up, you'll be able to see glue, like I have a little right here, right there. And just make sure you get that up. So that's on. You can just leave that out. Now on this one, same thing. Outside score line, pinch and crease. You'll still be able to see your other one. We'll hook it back behind, get it in there, pinch, hold it down, and we'll glue that down. And we'll burnish that really good. And then we'll make sure that we don't have any glue seeping, and we don't. Okay, so we have that. We can go ahead and fold on the other score lines. And then what you're going to want to do is push it in. And that is going to create our spacing. And we'll do that over here too. We'll just push back and push in. So now what we have is some spacing in there. Okay, so we can open that up. And let's put this off to the side while we work on the hinges. So you'll want to erase any writing on that hinge. Okay, let's fold on each one of these 3/4 hinges, and we are going to use our tool. And then we'll set these aside while we get our flip pockets ready. All right, so on each one of these, we're going to do these. So if you hold this up, you will notice that one side is 4 inches from the score line, and the other side is about 4.5 inches, okay? So this is to the score line, 4.5 inches, okay? From here to this score line, that is 4 inches, okay? we're gonna be cutting on the 4-inch, the smaller size. And actually, I am going to put this on my paper cutter. I'm gonna grab this so I can get a straight line. You can hand cut this if you'd like. But what we're gonna do is, if you see that score line, we're gonna cut on the score line and stop right where it meets that on each one of these. So I'm gonna line that up the best I can. And I will stop there. I went a little farther than I should have, but that's okay. And I'll do the same on over here. Just kind of line that up. I think that's pretty straight. So same thing, right on up to here. So far, this is what you have. And now we're just gonna cut across, right on that score line to clip this off. Just like that. So let's do that with each one of these. Again, the 4.5 inch up here, the 4-inch down here. And this is the smaller side, that's where we wanna cut up. So let's do that. So now we have all of our pieces looking like this, okay? Flip it over and let's fold on those score lines. We're all gonna be folding back this way. And this is super simple. And then this. So here is the 4-inch side. So this is what you're gonna look like. Let's apply our glue. And we'll just put glue right down the sides here without the flap. And we'll line up one side at a time. And then we'll get the other one. I don't know if I got enough glue over there, but we'll see. So this is what you should have, okay? So I'm gonna erase anything here. This is gonna get covered, so I just wanna make sure that right down in here and here, I'm at least done. So let's do the same with these. We'll go ahead and fold on the score lines on both of them to get them ready. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing. And here's a tip. If the bottom part of your flap interferes, goes past that score line, just clip it a little more. So if you ever get rough edges, what you can use is your tool and just kind of go like that until you can get your blade replaced. I usually use my other paper cutter, but because my blade never dulls on that, I never replace it, never have to. But on this one, I wanted to get it kind of accurate there. And then I'll just rub my thing over here to smooth out any rough edges from that cut. Okay, so we have 3 of these, right? Let's grab those hinges. Okay, one at a time. So here's our hinge. The peak is right here. We're just gonna add some glue on one side for now. We're gonna take this, here's the front opening, and we're gonna match it up. Top and bottom. Try to get it on as straight as we can. And then I'm gonna pinch back on that, make sure it's all lined up. So I flipped it over. So there's that. Okay, we're just gonna push that back behind. We're gonna do now with this, the same thing. The peak is over here. Now the glue goes here. Okay, peak, glue on this side. And we're gonna line it up, top and bottom and the edges with this one. As best we can. Kind of hard sometimes to get exact, but it'll be okay. So once you have that, you should have a flap like that. Okay, we're gonna fold that flap back over and we're gonna add our glue. We're gonna stick this one on top, line it up. And we'll burnish, whip up any glue, and I'm gonna open this up And you'll want to open these up to make sure that you don't have any glue. Okay, here's this last hinge. The peak is here, left side. And we'll place it down. I got mine on a little crooked. That's okay. I won't be able to tell when I'm done. Okay. And now we just add glue to this top little flap. Line it up with the others. And then we'll open it up and burnish. Okay. So now I am going to go ahead and erase this so you don't get confused. We all look the same. Easier to see. Okay, so we still have this little flap in the back, right? Let's grab our piece. So here's that little flap in the back. We're going to add some glue. So about an inch up from the bottom. Push it over so it's even spacing, straight, and then carefully. So we're not quite done here. All right, so now this part here, we're going to actually make a back pocket again. So when this opens, this will be able to open here, and you will have this flap and in the back. So this back one, flip it over, glue along this side. Ooh, but I got to get more glue down. It's not sticking. And along the bottom. I'm just going to do this all at once here. Get that back. Okay. So now this is what we have, and we want to burnish really well here. So now we have several pockets. Get up that glue. And the biggest thing is just make sure that back hinge is down. Okay. So there we go. 1, 2, and then we have this, and then back behind. All right, let's get some of our magnets. We need a plus and a minus. So I have this out, and where's my tool? Let's grab a plus. Get the backing off that. Okay, on the left side, come in about an inch, and just somewhere in the middle, just kind of place that plus, okay? Now pull this in, and make sure you have your spacing. Place the mate on top. And we'll remove that little sticker backing. Okay, and with this one down, this one's gonna come over. If you wanna give it a little bend, you can, but you just wanna make sure you don't pull it. All you wanna do is gently lay it over. So this is what we have with some nice spacing in there. We don't have paper or decorated paper down, so those magnets are very strong. If I lift this back up, it can tear off the page until we get that decorative paper. So what I want you to do is grab it here and just kind of shimmy it up, and then it'll come right on off. All right, let's go to the very back and find some paper. In your paper pack, you will find this print. On the back, it is this. The first cut we're going to make is we're going to measure over 5 1/8 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. For now, put this one in your reserves. The one that we want is the side that says My Garden. We're going to turn it this way. We're going to make 2 cuts. We're going to measure over 3 7/8 and cut. And then we're going to measure over again 3 7/8 and cut. And I'm going to grab my thing out so that we're all on the same page. So 3 7/8. There's my first one. And I'm going to measure over again 3 7/8. And this piece we're going to put in our, let's see, can I do it again? I can. Let's do one more cut. Measure over on this, 3 7/8. We'll do it like that. And then we'll put that little bit in there. Yep. And so we can use all of this. Okay, we're going to start in the back. And we'll grab this one here. So there's two that are kind of identical. One has the brown over here, one doesn't. Let's grab the one that does not. Now this should fit right on in there and still giving you a little bit of a white lip, indicating that is a pocket. So we're going to apply glue. And we're going to glue that down. And you should be able to center that side to side. Don't get on that hinge. And you'll see a little bit of white cardstock before you hit that hinge over there, the score line. And you'll see a little bit of white over here. We'll burnish that down. I got mine on just a little bit crooked. That's okay. So there's that one. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's turn our page. This other one, okay. And then the first one, my garden, that'll look really cute. This paper is pretty easy to work with. Let's flip back. We need to get 1, 2. Let's grab this back out. I think we're going to use this. So I'm just kind of looking at it like this. You'll see this up in the corner. So on this one, we're just going to measure over 5 inches and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. This goes in our reserves for now. We'll turn it sideways. You'll see the little ladybug up there. We're going to make 2 cuts, measure over 4 1/4 and cut. Measure over again 4 1/4 and cut. And you'll put that other piece in your reserves. Okay, the one with the ladybug, just set off to the side, flip this over, and we are going to center that and glue that right on down. So we'll kind of keep the wood grain and the clovers all kind of going together here. The same thing. And we'll center that, and there'll be a white border around it. Just don't get on the hinge. We'll flip that. Now we're going to get that ladybug in there. And if you use the wrong one on the other page, it does not matter. Clover up. Okay, so back here we have this nice pocket, right? And in the back we kind of made, not quite a pocket, kind of a tuck. You'll be able to get a couple mats in there or your photograph. But more importantly, we can get several mats in right in these. Like a couple in this one, a couple in here, and a couple in here. All right, I think I want to start with the cover here on the left side. We'll put that, pull that in. Excuse me, I'm tongue-tied today. In your reserves, you will have this print. On the back, it is this. Okay, we're going to look at it upside down. We're going to measure over 5 1/2 inches and cut. And this is what we should have so far. And let's see, we're going to have to cut this down a little. So we're going to turn it sideways, measure over 7 1/2 inches, and cut. Okay, once again, we are working on the outside. We're just going to center that in there. That should give us a nice white border around. Let's get that glue out. Got my glue on there, and we're going to place it. And just make sure that you kind of center it side to side, top and bottom. So that's going to look really nice. Okay, let's get the inside there. In your reserves, you will have this piece. On the back, it is this. And I think I want to have this side up so it's easier to layer photos. It's not so busy in the background. So I'm looking at it, again, it's this one. With this mark over here, measure over 5 1/2 inches and cut. And that should just take off just a sliver. Next, we're going to turn it this way. The brown is up here. Measure over 7 1/2 and cut. And we will glue that down. We'll center it right on in there. If this is your first time, make sure you always stay away from those score lines or hinges. You have another one of these in your reserve, and we should have done this all at once so that it's going to be pretty even and stuff. So measure over 5.5 inches and cut. And now what we're going to do is turn it this way so that the browns down here measure over 7.5 and cut. And we will glue that down right there. All right, for some reason mine came out a little bit shy over to the side. Somehow. Not sure. Maybe they weren't quite the same. That's okay. I'm going to fix that. I think I cut more off than I should have. Anyway, I have a strip right here. I miscut mine. And I'm going to take this. This is in my reserve, so if you have this too and you did the same thing, I'm just going to cut this in half and cut it by 7.5 down here. Anyway, I miscut mine. You may not have. I'm just going to add what I can over here. And I'll overlap. So mine's going to look a little different from yours. I think I miscut by just a hair. One thing is if you are new to this and you do a miscut, do not panic. If you're taking a tutorial where it's pretty detailed out, and you've got to cut your decorated paper the same to get same results and stuff, don't panic. Just keep going. And for me, I did it, so I showed you what I was using to fix that. But if you're taking a tutorial, you miscut, and I'm moving on, wait until the end of the tutorial to use a scrap or something, okay? So that looks pretty good there. All right, in our reserves, we have this sheet. And you see this pot here? I am going to cut this out. And let's see, anything else I want? Okay, I see something I would like to do. Okay, you see the shovel, the big one, and these pots. We're just going to kind of weave in around those and cut those out. We got that and that. We're just going to do some layering here. And, gosh, there's so much that we could do. Let's just start for now with this so I don't overload you. Let's cut out and around each one of these pieces. I'll show you mine as soon as I'm done. Yeah, I have so many ideas going through my head. I'm just like, okay, I don't want to overload everybody with my crazy ideas. So we'll just take this little bit at a time. We still have to do that, by the way. I am almost done with cutting this out, so I can tell you what else we're going to do. All right, those are my pieces. I'll bring them up. And the little pots. I got glue all over me. And then the flower pot. So grab a piece of white cardstock, and what we're going to do is we're going to glue down some pieces, and we're going to cut out and around these pieces, leaving a little bit of a white border. So I'm just going to place these wherever. But we definitely want to stiffen these up just a little bit and kind of bring them forward. And as you can see, I'm kind of placing them separately away from each other. So I'll keep this for later. I'll just come in between here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut out and around each image, but I'm going to leave about a 1/16 inch of white showing around it. And that'll help bring these forward and clean them up a bit. I'll show you what mine look like as soon as I'm done. Okay, got mine cut out here. Whoops, come back here. Here's my shovel. Here is my flower pot. And here are those little pots. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to show you first, then we can add our glue. But over on the inside here, we're going to place our shovel at an angle. We're going to use this one to layer on top. Okay, And then I'll be placing glue. So part of the shovel's sticking out. Then this will kind of slightly hang on to this. So we're going to do that. So while you have it down, to me it's a lot easier just to put some glue in some key spots. So I know I need to be there, and I know I need to be there. This is how I work it out. So there's that. I'll pick it up and make sure I don't get glue on anything else. And now I know I just need a little bit of glue around the side. So if it's down like this, I'll just move it over a bit. Not too much over. So now my piece looks like this. Now we can make this into a little tuck area if we wanted, and I'm going to do that, but if you'd rather just glue it all down, do so. Underneath this, I'm just putting a dab, just a little bit of glue, and underneath the shovel at the bottom, and underneath the pot right in the corner. And I'll bring this here, that here, and that here. So now we've created a little tuck if we wanted to put a tag or something of that nature. Even sliding a photo partially behind, and I think that'd look cute. You know, that's all that is. All right, let's go ahead and work on this side. In your paper pack, you will have this print. On the back, it is this. Flip that upside down, measure over 5.5 inches, and cut. So you partially have the word love over there, but we're going to turn it this way. Love is here, measure over 7.5 and cut. And now what we have is a framed butterfly, and we're going to glue that down right there. If you don't like that, you can always have this side up. And if you'd like, you can open that up and just burnish from this side. Get it started. I think that's pretty good. Let's close it up. That looks really nice, very nice. It's a nice and thick, sturdy fold out there. Now, there was something else I wanted to get at. Let's just grab the bird. Let's just do something easy here. And we're going to cut out and around the bird. And we'll put it down to white cardstock and do the same thing we did there. We're just going to have this stick out a little bit more for us so it doesn't get lost in the background of the pattern paper. And I'll show you mine when I'm done. If you are new to making albums, or actually new to my tutorials, you'll find I do this quite a bit, and there's several reasons why I might back my piece. Number one is perhaps I need to make it more sturdy like this. A second reason is if we have a busier background, by doing what we did, it really cleans up the image and brings it forward. So that's another reason why. Kind of highlighting that a little bit. And it does clean up your image. If you're not good at fussy cutting, let me tell you, this does help, because I am not the best fussy cutter, but by the time I'm done, it really helps me out a lot by cleaning up my image a little more. All right, right up here, let's go ahead and put some glue right back behind the longest feather, and then back behind this one, and maybe we'll have that as a little tuck or something. We'll just leave it like that. There we are. Page 1 is complete. We're going to flip this over. Now we're going to need to put score tape around the outside like a picture frame. We are going to go one down the middle and one on each side, but we're not going to place this in our book just yet. We're going to finish doing page 2, then we'll place both in the book, okay? All right, I have all my score tape on there. Page 1 looks awesome. Let's move on to page 2. We'll set this off to the side. We're on page 2. There are no pre-cuts. Let's grab this. We set it off to the side. Let's flip it over and first get our score tape on. Score tape around the outside, like a picture frame. One down the middle, one on each side. And we'll burnish that, and then we'll finish the cover, the front side. So in our reserves, we have this. So what I want to do is cut out this right here. I want to get that. And because we're so thick on page 1, so page 2 we can't be so thick, but we are going to do something pretty creative here. And the birdhouse. And when I cut this out, I am going to try. Oh shoot, I cut into mine big time, so mine's going to be a little lopsided. Darn me. Not going to worry about that. So I got that. Yeah, I did. Darn it, got crazy. And let's see here. These corners. There's one, and there's a corner over here. Let's just see what this looks like. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the pots. We're going to do that. Now this detached, so I'm just going to put this in my reserves for right now. So let's start off with the corner pieces. Let's cut out and around those. Just do the best you can, especially around some of these scrolly things. I'm not going to be too particular there. So I have these 2 pieces cut out. Let's just add them, let's add them to the corner, top. Let's just see what we get. If you want to wait to see what mine looks like, to determine if that's something you would like to do. You don't have to do exactly. If I do something, you know, and you don't like it, don't add it. We're just going to break up some of the greenery a little bit, is all. Okay, let's cut out the birdhouse. Kind of mad at myself. I actually chopped down the side of my birdhouse a little bit more than it should, but I think it'll be okay, to be honest. I'm not going to be too persnickety here. Okay, I am not going to back this with anything. I'm just going to glue this birdhouse down right here. Just kind of layer it in. Okay, I'm going to cut out and around this, and then I'm going to show you what I did, okay? So that you can kind of see what I've done here. So it kind of looks similar. We will be backing this with white cardstock for sure, because we're going to create a tuck. And the reason why I said you might want to wait and see, especially up and around here, what I've decided I wanted to do is just kind of weave around a little bit. You know, that's it. Just kind of weaving. Because that is pretty hard to cut out. So in the end, just do some weaving up there. It'll come out looking like that. All right, let's glue this down, and we're going to cut out and around, leaving that little bit of white border around it. We're going to stiffen this up, and we're going to bring this image as a spotlight, bring it forward, and it will clean this up. So if your fussy cutting was really choppy, it'll make it look good. Just round your corners up a little, going around the edges. Okay, that's what mine looks like. Did the best I could. I'm just going to give this a little bit of a bend. So what I want to do is make sure I get glue right underneath the tip here, down here, and along the bottom of the wheel. Let's try that first. So at the tip, bottom of the wheel, we'll leave that alone. And we will just kind of place that down here and here. and wipe up any messy glue we might have done. Let's see. So now a photograph can go right back behind. You can tuck a picture mat actually, and then easy access, and it looks good. So that looks great. Let's place this in the book. I've got my book here, and I want to show you first before we do, so that you can see. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this really quick and tuck it back behind page 2 so you can kind of see where the whites of my edges are. So page 2, the idea on this is we'll remove our score tape backing. Here's your score line. We are going to come in about 3/16 from to 1/4 inch away from that score line. That should still give you a little bit of a white border, maybe an 1/8 over here, and then we'll center that top and bottom. And that'll look really nice. And then we'll do page 1 together, because I do want you to place that in a certain spot. But I always try to do page 2, put it in the book first. It's easier to line up page 1. So they're not too off-centered from each other. All right. Again, if you need to place some glue down here to maneuver yourself before you do it, then do so. I'm just going to go with it right like that. And then I'm going to carefully burnish. Okay, page 2 is in the book. I think that looks really good. So here is our page 1. I'm going to show you first before we do it, okay? So page 1 is super thick. And when you're running with really thick spacing, you try to stay away from your hinge area as far as possible. So we'll want to try and keep this top and bottom lined up with the top and bottom of this page. But on this one, we're going to scoot it all the way over to the left, only leaving about 1/8 of an inch of our chipboard here, our covered chipboard. And that will give us a good 1/2 inch or so away from that. It's easier to turn. It's easier for your next pages to turn onto it because we are thick if we keep it over to the left. If we didn't and we brought it closer, maybe only leaving a little bit, what's going to happen is you're probably going to pop up a little more. So the science is to move it over. You can even leave a little less than 1/8 of an inch if you wanted, so that when we turn the pages, they're more apt to lay in a little flatter, so you can get them over a little bit more. Okay? At least I think it does. Here we go. I'm going to remove this, and then I'm going to try and get this in my book as straight as I can. And I should have burnished this down a little bit better. Here we go. I'm actually going to stand up to do this so I don't get my head in the video. So top and bottom of this should match up with top and bottom of that. But I'm going to bring it all the way over. And without going over the edge, I'm hoping that this is fairly straight and good. I'm just going to place it. I'm not going to worry about it. Let's see. I'm a little off, but that's okay. So once you have this beast in here, we're going to go ahead and do some burnishing. Really get that down. I'm not going to worry about my cover flowers. I made them well enough to where they won't get destroyed from the pressure. No, flowers are still good. Okay, page 1 and 2 is complete. We're now moving on to page 3. We're on page 3, and we have a couple pre-cuts here. Now, on page 2, I believe it was, we cut into this, and I said set this off to the side. I was going to use actually this on page 2 somewhere, but we're going to be using this in page 3, so we'll just kind of set that off to the side for now. Let's go over these pre-cuts. The first pre-cut was a 5x7. We called it a large pocket. And what we did was we laid this on our scoring board. We are 5 inches across. We scored at a half. And then it said to rotate or turn your paper, so you're now sitting at 7 inches. We scored at a half and 6.5. Our last pre-cut is a 3x7. We called it a small pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 3 inches across. We scored at a half. We then turned it to where we are now 7 inches across. We scored at a half and 6.5. So we'll set those off to the side. Let's get our main decorated paper. In your paper pack, you will have this print, and on the back, it is this. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn it sideways. Our chair is up here. We're going to measure over 7 3/4 and cut. So when we do that, it's going to cut off part of the word bloom. Next, we're going to measure over 6 inches and cut that right in half. So now we have these 2 pieces. So the one that we are going to get after is the one with the butterfly. This one we're going to set off to the side. We'll use that for page 4. Let's grab our large and small pockets. And you will notice on the side we have score lines, and then we'll have a score line going across the bottom on both of them. You'll notice down here where the score lines cross, it makes that square. Let's cut out the squares in each one of these. We're going to get these ready to go. Okay, I cut out the squares on both of these, and now on these we'll just turn them over and we're going to fold towards us with those score lines. Right on there. And we'll use our tool there. Okay, so now we're going to position this so our flaps are here and we have a flap at the bottom. Let's grab our glue. So on that bottom flap, what we're going to do is just right there in the corner, we're going to place a little bit of glue. Just a little bit down there. And to know how far you need to actually go over with your glue is if you were to pull this in, make sure you don't have glue off to the left side of that. And I do need a little more glue over here and here. And on each one of these, we'll fold in the sides and pull up the bottom. And then we're going to burnish. So on these is this little ridge. This is the bottom. So when I tell you how to place a pocket, so the bottom would be down here. When I go like that, that means that's the opening. So let's grab our page. And what we're going to do on this is we're going to apply glue down the sides of this and the bottom. And we're going to place it. Whoops. We definitely don't want glue in there. So the opening is here. We're just going to bring it down to the bottom of our piece. And if you want to pucker it up just a little bit, you can. So you can get more in that pocket. And we're going to burnish that. Now, when you pucker it up, you may be able to see some of your decorative paper here on the side. That's okay. So this one we're not quite ready yet. We're going to get some of our decorative paper to get right in there. In your reserves, the cuttings off this base page, you will have this. So how we're going to look at it is with the flowers over here. We're going to measure over 6 inches and cut. If we were to apply glue to this side and pull it all the way up, it's going to be short down here, but that's okay because our other pocket lays on top. But what we're trying to do is get it to where we have a little bit of a white lip up there so you can see where the pocket is. And we're going to glue this down. Get that on fairly even there. Okay, it's time to get our small pocket. We'll bring it to the bottom. And we can pucker that a little bit too. Get the sides there, the bottom. Now the other side of that cutting, we have this, okay? This is already 6 inches, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn it this way, blue flower over here, measure over 2 3/8 and cut. And this is what you should have. Let's flip that over, and we're gonna glue this down, and that'll give us a little bit of a white lip as well. So let's do that. Get some more color on this page. Now we have this, and I had the little cutting from the other one. I'm going to stick that other one in our reserves. I want a little more color here, so let's cut this off. I have no idea where my other piece went. So now let's cut out and around each one of these pots. I'll show you what mine looks like when I'm done. I'm just going to separate mine out here. Now with the pots, you don't have to be real persnickety. All I'm doing, to be honest, is when I come up to the side, I'm just going to kind of do my scissors like this. And it will round off the edges and it'll look good. All right, here are mine down here, and I'll just bring them up as best I can to the view so you can see what I've done here. We're going to get some things ready to go. So I'll put those down right here. In your reserves, you will have this. And the one I'd like to get is family. So I'm just going to kind of go in between here. Come on, you. I'm going to cut out and around this. So with the one that has family, we're just going to glue that down. We don't need to back that. We're just going to stick that right here. All right, let's grab some scrap cardstock, and we're going to glue these down, and we're going to cut out and around these. And we'll leave a little bit of a white border when we do that. So that's what they should look like. Okay, so I'm going to show you first before we do this. I'm going to grab a pink flower pot, and I'm just going to lay that down right here without going over the top edge of the small pocket or the left side. Next, I'm going to grab a white one, and I'm going to slightly overlap that onto the pink pot. We'll grab the blue one, and we're just kind of trailing down at an angle. So the blue is going to slightly overlap onto the white. We'll grab the pink, slightly overlap there, and then the white, like that. So I'm going to be adding glue and doing that. So a little bit of glue there, and then I know I have to slightly offset it. Now, if you end up offsetting it to where it's going to be going over, we can always maneuver it up. The next one would be the blue on top of the white, just a little bit. And then the pink over here off to the side. And even though I said it shouldn't go up over, it's okay if it does. It's not going to really hurt anything. But let's see what we can do here. We have one more piece to go too before we finish this. This is going to be like a little tuck. So I want to make sure these are all down. Give it a little bend there. So if I come over here, I did pretty good. So I will be putting glue at the bottom of the white and over here at the corner of the pink. And we're going to slightly give that a little bend so you can get something in there. Okay, last piece. Let's grab this out of our reserves. You see Garden House. We're going to cut out and around this, then we're going to glue it down to some white cardstock and cut out and around that. And I'll show you what mine looks like when I'm done. Well, that's good enough for me. My hands are just aching today. So this is just going to go right here. So I'm going to stick something underneath there so I don't glue. I'm going to kind of bend it out a little. So when I place this, I can get a little glue under this ridge. So it'd probably be better if I pulled it out towards me on the edges first, so it has something, and then bend it in there. Just not too far, you know. And the thing is on this side, I'm going to need to wipe up most of that glue and bring it down. But you'll definitely want to put something back behind so you don't glue anything down, and kind of use that to absorb any glue. I don't think mine's on quite straight. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty good. That looks pretty good to me. I'm going to bring it up. You see, I've just a little bit of a thing there going on. I think that's it for this page. Flip it over, score tape around the outside like a picture frame, one down the middle, one on each side, burnish, and I will meet you at the book. I have the score tape backing off of mine. Let's go to page 3. So with this, we are just going to come in from the side maybe an eighth. Try to get that centered top and bottom as best we can. And we will place it. And that should leave you far enough away from that over there. If you are working with leaves and flowers, I just have one that's darker. I am going to press that down a little bit. So what I've done is I picked off to where I have 3 leaves. And where I'm going to place glue is back underneath here, back under here, a little bit here under the stem, and then a little at the top. Because what's going to happen is that goes there, that goes there. We can put a little glue right here to give it more stability, and then the tip of this will get glued down to that. So I'll show you. So a little here, a little here, and just at the tip. And I'm going to slide something back in here, just like that. So should just miss it. There, there, and there. And when I move this, then I can get the stem down there. Okay, get that down. And then the flower just goes right here in the corner, if you're using it. If you're not using flowers, you know, we just don't want one that's stiff, raised a ½ inch up. That's why I kind of mashed this one down a little bit. Now, in your reserves, you will have this piece. It is not 6 inches across. It is, and on the back, it kind of looks like this. This one is only about 5½ inches, which will work for us. If you were to slide that in, it should hit the side there, and when you bring it over, it should come across. And you can always scoot it a little bit more, but we're going to glue that down there. And let's see, which side do I want to use? Okay, so the bigger little band is going to go towards the bottom, and we'll just slide that right in there. We'll use up this scrap. So now, this tuck, you can put a tag or whatever, but you should be able to slide it. And you can also frame a main photo up front. But we have a generous pocket for larger photos in the back, maybe some smaller ones, or larger in the front. So if you wanted to step ladder them, you probably could. Just like that. And then you can store more. All right, page 3 is complete. Let's move on to page 4. We have more going on that one.